Zion National Park is a land of refuge. Its sheer sandstone walls permeate a reassuring sense of calm, an invisible force that drifts through groves of delicate maples, filters through the dry grass, and eventually settles along the banks of the Virgin River. I feel it in the cold morning air, and I hear it in the flutter of cottonwood leaves dancing gracefully in the breeze. I love the sense of wonder this place brings, and that's one of the things that keeps me coming back year after year. My annual fall trip to Zion represents an escape from everyday life, and an excuse to explore hidden places in search of something special. But much like the crumbling sandstone cliffs above, change is an inevitable force. Whether it's a freshly fallen ponderosa pine, or the progression of fall color on any given year, no two visits are alike. These are the changes I love to see, and they help me to better understand this very special place. Along with this understanding comes a sense of gratitude for the many opportunities I've had through the years, and also for those opportunities that are still to come. My experience this year will undoubtedly be shaped by the very uncertain times we live in, and I fear the Zion I return to on this trip won't be the same Zion of years past. I made my campground reservations for this year's trip back in April. The park was shut down at the time and the future was uncertain. Although the park is now open, there are changes in place to limit visitation. These bottlenecks will cause large crowds to venture to lesser visited portions of the park. In the weeks leading up to this trip, I've heard stories of massive crowds, litter, and vandalism. I need to be in the right mindset on these trips, and I know that'll be a challenge this year. I've even debated whether I should continue filming these video journals. I know that people enjoy watching as a form of escape, but I have concerns about the overall impact on the places I visit. One of my goals this year is to help clean up the park and to leave it better than I found it. It's the least I can do for a park that's been instrumental to my own growth as a photographer. I remain cautiously hopeful about this year's trip, but I know it'll be a very different experience than years past. This is a story of my fall of 2020 visit to Zion National Park. So I've arrived here in Zion National Park, and I went ahead and set up my campsite and drove around to the park to an area I have not scouted before. And I gotta say, this place is very busy. This is actually busier than I've seen it even during the summertime. And that has a pretty big impact on the experience here. But that all being said, I kind of wandered off the beaten path here a little bit and checking out this canyon I've never been to before. And when the sound of car engines and honking and people talking is, replaced by the sound of the wind through pine trees, and when the smell of engine exhaust is replaced by the kind of sweet vanilla kind of scent of the ponderosa pines, it's a whole nother place. So you don't have to wander very far, but leading into this trip, I was questioning whether I should even keep doing videos here in Zion during the fall, because this place is very, very busy. But we'll see how this trip goes. But I absolutely love this place. Nice breeze going through this canyon now, and just going for a little walk to see all what I could find. Well, I'm back at camp now and making myself some astronaut lasagna, so that should be good. But after filming that last video and then spending some time walking through the canyons and scouting out some scenes and getting some ideas for the coming days, I spent time picking up some trash. There's a lot of litter here this time in Zion, and it's really disgusting. It's mostly toilet paper. And so at one of the last areas I stopped at, I just spent probably about, 20 minutes or so just going around and picking up everything I could find. I have one of those little grabbers and trash bags and stuff, but I picked up a lot of stuff, and it's pretty disgusting. So I just want to do my part to leave it better than I found it, because this place needs some help, and just something to think about if you go to one of your favorite locations and you kind of see it starting to get trashed. You know, it's just take those steps, do what you can, because every little bit helps. But got my astronaut lasagna here, so I will enjoy that, get a good night's sleep, and got something pretty cool for tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to getting my gear packed up and seeing what I can shoot tomorrow morning. But thanks for watching. We'll see you around next time. Well, good morning, everyone. It is dark and early, and made myself some tea, some breakfast. And the plan for today is to visit a pine tree that I scouted out last year. And it's an area that takes a little bit of effort to get to. So I'm even bringing a rope with me just in case I need that to get down this one particular slope. But I found this cool pine tree that's set against these rolling hills of white sandstone. And I know that after the sun comes up, the sun's gonna bounce off that sandstone in a really kind of an interesting way, very dimensional sort of way. So I'm bringing along the Arca Swiss 8x10, my 600mm lens, my 450, my 300, because somewhere in there is gonna be the focal length to make it work. So I'm really wanting to do this photo early in the trip just because I know it's going to take a bit of effort to get there. But one of the advantages of doing this photo on this trip this year is that it's been a really, really dry year. And there's this one slot canyon I have to go through in order to get to this location. And then you can tell how on many years it's just filled with this nasty, murky, sludgy water, but it should be perfectly dry like it was last year. Looking forward to enjoying my breakfast here, and let the sun come up a little bit, and then head over there and see if I can find a composition on that tree. So it should be pretty nice. But I do enjoy how it's nice and calm and quiet here right now. I'm gonna enjoy this as long as it lasts, because it's gonna be a zoo here in a couple hours. All right, so there we go. That's 4 sheets of film, but the light was changing around a little bit, and I'm pretty sure this is the last little window of light before some more harsh light kind of streams in here. But I exposed 4 sheets of Velvia 50, and this is a tree that I found last year as I was going through this canyon for the first time. It was really late in the trip, and I was pretty worn out, and I was just carrying my lightweight scouting pack. But it was pretty early in the morning when I came through here, and I saw that really beautiful tree there, and it struck me that it'd be a really nice subject. But continued up the canyon, then came back down the canyon. By then the light had shifted to the way it is right now. I just love the way the tree looked in combination with the reflected light. So it was my goal to on this trip to come back here, lug my 8x10 camera up this canyon. And at first I didn't quite know how feasible that would be, because there's one stretch of rather, it's really steep, it's really loose, but I was able to work my way down that. I brought a rope with me just in case I needed it, but I didn't actually end up needing that. But there's also a really narrow slot canyon, and so narrow that I had to kind of turn at a weird angle to work my way through. And there's some choke stones I had to sort of chimney my way up to get over those choke stones, and it's really difficult doing that when you have a heavy pack because your weight distribution is really awkward. But I made it here. I found time to scout out my composition, and I have this really beautiful pine tree, and off to the right of it there's a smaller pine tree, and trying to find the balance between them was a little bit tricky, but I used my 450 lens, and I like the way that the sandstone kind of flows in front of and also behind the trees there. So just framed a vertical composition, and looking forward to see how this one turns out. But it is an absolutely beautiful morning, not a single cloud in the sky, just a bunch of blue sky, and the sun's about to peek over the cliffs over there. So this was my window of light to work with, and I'm glad it worked out well. Absolutely beautiful morning here in Zion. So I made my way back to my truck and was distracted by this really beautiful maple along the way. It's this really beautiful transitional color, and I was sitting there staring at it, trying to find a composition, and I heard a voice over my shoulder, and it was Marty Quinn, who's a fellow large format photographer. So it's great chatting with him for a little while. Then went back to my truck to make lunch and realized I did not have my car key anymore. So somewhere on the hike this morning with all the scrambling, it must have fallen out of my pocket, and that is not a good thing. But I do carry a spare key. I just had to get to it, so I took a rock to the triangular shaped window in one of the rear passenger doors and was able to get to my spare. And then I always carry gaffer's tape as well, so I was able to use gaffer's tape to cover up that window for now. But it really sucks because those keys are like $300, and I have no clue how much the window is going to be, but I know that's not going to be cheap either. But I do feel really good about that photo this morning. Hopefully it turns out pretty decent. I'm spending a little time down here in the washes, wandering around, evaluating the fall color, and see if anything else catches my eye. As with most things in life, good photographs are rarely a matter of chance. They're the result of hard work, of preparation, and of putting yourself in the right place at the right time. I exposed a total of 4 sheets of Velvia 50, and each exposure captures the progression of light. It's subtle at first, but soon develops into an invitingly warm glow. Moments after taking the final photo, harsh direct sunlight spilled into the scene. I love the shape of this large ponderosa pine and how it's bathed in beautifully warm reflected light. Thankfully, it was a perfectly calm morning, and not a single pine needle stirred during the 2-second exposure. Although very few things were certain on this year's trip, it felt great to start out on a high note. My efforts that day were rewarded, and this photo very much captures the feeling of being there. Thanks as always for watching, and we'll see you around next time. If you enjoy this ad-free and clickbait-free content and want to help me live my dream, a voluntary contribution of just $24 a year helps keep my gas tank full and my film freezer stocked. For more information on how to support me and my work, please visit the donation section of my website at benhorn.com/donate. I also have prints and my portfolio box set available on my website. You can find a direct link down below in the show notes. Thanks in advance for your support.